In a mortal world where cultivation is looked up to and spiritual magic is a thing, a guy named An Lin is celebrating his birthday alone, as he promises his late mother that he will become the next greatest cultivator in human history. But little does An know about what is actually awaiting him in his near future as a cultivator. An's birthday is disturbed when an old man named Master Lu visits the mortal world and takes an interest in An. The old man's presence is noticed by An, but just as he tries to utilize his spiritual eyes, Master Lu drags him to the spiritual world, where he passes the war god system to the young man. Master Lu reveals how An Lin will now be studying cultivation at the Juzhou Top Magic Academy, and An just accepts the offer the second the old man mentions the possibility of An Lin finding a beautiful woman during his journey through the academy. What can I say? Bro got his priorities straight. As the old man leaves, An meets the war god system through his magical assistant, which helps him in meeting a girl named Shu Xiaolan. Shu had been stuck in the spiritual plane, and An helps her get out with his new powers. An seems to be quite happy with his fate as of now, and Shu takes him to the academy where an aptitude test is going on. A guy named Wei surprises everyone with his level 9 score from the get-go, and even Shu turns out to be quite popular around. Shu gets into class 1 as well, and after a guy named Cheng impresses everyone with his skills and recommendation scroll, An Lin finds out that the scroll he got from Master Lu is actually really valuable. The scroll creates a lot of hype for An Lin among both the students and the elder teachers. An is determined to absolutely kill it walking forward, until his luck just runs out as he gets a whopping 0 score, and only killing his hope of getting into Shu's class. The test continues, and having Master Lu's recommendation, An Lin somehow gets into class 1 as well. The obvious happens, and the students start hate An Lin and the fact that he got here through favoritism, to the point where Wei demands a duel with him. An gets saved by Shu for now, who takes him out just in time. Later on, in the dormitory, An Lin gets informed about his reputation as a crook in the academy by the war god system, where An decides to put some effort in and levels up with a little workout. An Lin is having a hard time staying in his room and decides to go for a walk to reveal his progress to Shu, when a masked guy tries to jump him. An Lin activates his spiritual eyes just in time to engage in hand-to-hand combat. An Lin manages himself fairly well, and the duel is going even when it is revealed that the attacker is actually Liu Da Bao from class 100. Da Bao seems to be unhappy with An Lin being assigned to class 1, and he decides to teach the guy a lesson by pulling a talisman attack on him. An Lin is still busy hilariously arguing with the war god system when his life is on the line. He gets saved by Shu, who puts a blade to Da Bao's throat. Shu forgets poor Da Bao's existence for a moment, and she is busy congratulating An when it turns out that Da Bao was not Da Bao all along. I mean, the assaulter was an imposter, who then launches an attack on Shu. An Lin steps in to take the blow, and just as the imposter runs away, we get to know how An Lin had already managed to get close to stage 4 of cultivation. An Lin is attending the academy for his first real class when he uses his spiritual eye to spy upon his fellow students who think of the guy as a jerk. Before the classes begin, An Lin is literally swayed by another girl named Susu. An Lin attends the classes with a lot of optimism, but that optimistic mood wears off real quick, as he basically learns nothing of actual worth. The guy is hyped when he finally gets to learn from human teachers, but one of them just gives the class phones to waste time on, and the other one puts everyone to sleep since it was a nap class. Anyway, before falling asleep, An Lin does get to know something that might be valuable, as the instructor tells him how a life full of bloodbaths awaits him. A while later, An Lin is woken up by Shu again, as he realizes that the class is still ongoing. In the magic class, An Lin gets asked to have a duel against class monitor Cheng, but Shu tries to fight as his proxy since the level difference between the two guys is too much for the fight to be fair. Despite the instructor advising her not to, Shu still jumps into a fight with Cheng, and she goes all out with her fire cultivation techniques. Shu's techniques are not able to cross Cheng's barrier, but An Lin's spiritual eyes do. A couple of minutes into the duel, and Shu is at a serious disadvantage when An Lin steps in to take the blow for Shu. Everyone's left surprised to find An Lin still standing, and An launches a cultivation attack that is initially dodged by Chang really easily, but it turns out that An Lin was going after the barrier formation from the very beginning. An Lin surprises the audience after finally hitting the mark of stage 4, and Chang accepts his defeat in front of everyone. Chang approaches An Lin after the match and befriends him, leaving An with an expensive ring as a sign of their new friendship. The day really shines for An when even Susu joins his group, but as things were going way too well, the War God system introduces a little twist in the story, telling An that he needs to reach the top 50 on the ranking list, or else he will become a girl. An Lin takes this information just like the rest of us, until he realizes how serious the situation is after witnessing the female version of himself in a dream. The guy is strength training, and this sounded like a normal quest, until he comes to know that his current rank is at 29,653. An questions his friends about the same thing the next day at school, but they start assuming that An is under some real mental stress. An Lin's priorities change drastically, as now his dignity as a man is on the line. An Lin continues to train, and we get to know how he managed to already reach stage 7. The War God system reveals how he can get to the top 50 if he manages to beat someone on 9th stage, and the first person who comes to An Lin's mind ends up being Shu. Over the course of the next few days, An tries to ask Shu indirectly, but she just assumes that something is wrong with the guy. An also asks Chang about it, who just advises him to be direct with Shu as she won't turn him down. After multiple attempts of getting his message through, An Lin finally gets on one knee in front of Shu and gives her the wrong impression that he's about to propose. An asks her if he can do a sneak attack on her, and Shu accepts, thinking that he was joking. Shu ends up getting upset when An Lin really jumps in to attack her, and more events lead to a little misunderstanding between the two. An Lin is in the dorm, wondering about what he had done, just when he eats some diarrheic essence that makes him spend the majority of the night and the next day on the toilet seat, going through a detox. While Shu is wondering about why An is not attending school today, Chang heads to meet the guy, who is in a life and death situation at this point, and helps him out in speeding up the process, truly saving An Lin. The situation was especially critical as the students were supposed to attend the big tournament of Thousand Forest Peak the next day. While Chang was doing his job, the other two girls were also around, and Shu was still fixated on An Lin, owing her an apology. The tournament arrives on the next day, but having 5 minutes of detox left puts An Lin in a terrible state. An instructor named Da Bai tries to help him, but spiritual help was not quite what An Lin needed at that moment. The tournament is commencing soon, and while An's friends are busy defeating strong opponents, An Lin looks for a secluded place to get the detox over with. Despite a lot of people interrupting him, An Lin manages to somehow finish his detox and jumps straight into the action as a completely new man, defeating multiple opponents with the power of freedom he had just gotten. The current situation of the tournament had put An Lin at a really low rank, so he decides to take an underhanded approach and use some of Liu Dabao's help. An Lin defeats many people from class 100 to jump the ranks massively, and is planning about where to go forward from here on out, when he gets jumped by a sword spirit. The mighty spirit gets blown away in a single attack by a woman with a menacing stare, alarming An Lin that the threat is getting real. The menacing girl is revealed to be Liu Qianhuang, and she plans to play a game of questions with An Lin. The guy goes with the flow as there is nothing else he can do, and gives Liu some interesting answers about how he finds Susu more attractive than Shu, leaving her intrigued. While An Lin is busy with Liu, Shu meets up with Da Bao, who reveals An's diarrhea to her, making Shu finally understand An Lin's recent behavior. An manages to pass Liu's test, and he is trying to leave when she reveals how she plans to play games with him for 3 more days. An convinces Liu to take him to Black Rock Peak so he can cultivate, while he is busy with Liu, as the War God assistant had suggested he use the cultivation and defeat Liu to jump the ranks drastically. An Lin witnesses a strong cultivator named Chen Chen there, who leaves after telling An that they will meet up again soon. An Lin was on the Black Rock Peak, while Shu had gotten attacked by the same imposter of Da Bao, who was actually Wei all along. An Lin spends a whole night playing games and having fun with Liu as his cultivation reaches completion. Liu, who is able to spot lies, gets angry with An after she assumes that An is lying about having fun with her. An Lin's new cultivation finally reaches completion, as he is now supposed to face the anger of Liu Qianhuan, whose favorability of our guy has really decreased. The War God system forces An Lin to release his newly learnt Earth Lotus art and attack Liu. Liu gets seriously mad from this ambush and is willing to teach An Lin a lesson. She ends up stopping after she comes to realize that An Lin was not lying one bit throughout the time she spent with him. Liu goes as far as testing the diarrheic essence An Lin had eaten earlier to discover the truth, but she gets in an upset condition herself. An Lin helps her out with his new technique, and she gives An Lin her headband as a gift for their friendship and possible sect in the future. An jumps back into the tournament to witness the rampage caused by the current rank 1 student named Wang. An Lin ignores Wang for now and heads to save Shu and Dabao from Wei. He shows his new power buff after taking Wei and his company out to reach the 9th stage quite easily. The differences between Shu and An Lin finally sort out, but An Lin's chances of making it to the top 50 had decreased even more as there were only so many contenders left. Without wasting any time, Susu and Chang try their best to defeat Wang, but both of them get eliminated in the process, leaving everything to An Lin. Wang quickly switches attention to An and launches a cultivation attack that is stopped by Chen Chen, who shows An Lin a new move called the Finger of Heaven. Chen Chen leaves after the incredible display of power, and the War God system reveals how An Lin has a minuscule chance of getting to the top 50 now. An Lin analyzes the options left and sends both Shu and Dabao to safety so he can go all out with his challenge against Wang. None of the students believe in him, and even the elders are advising them to stop the duel. Wang accepts the challenges regardless and goes all out against An Lin, only to be defeated by An Lin's newly learned Finger of Heaven technique. An Lin surprises everyone after getting the 2nd rank in the academy, and his reputation changes drastically. An ends up unconscious for the next 10 days, but he is nursed back to health by his friends and the elders. An Lin, Shu, and Chang get assigned to the mortal world as the divine messengers, and as the crook, An Lin had become An the Great throughout the academy. He cashes in on the opportunity by selling his proxy business to the students. An Lin is backed by Liu, who launches the first esports club in the spiritual world, but Liu's closeness with An seemingly bothers Shu, who obviously has a crush on him. To Wei's dismay, for some reason An Lin's proxy buying business does wonders, and he manages to sell his mortal world proxies to a lot of students. An Lin had also gotten closer to Liu, who gifts him her ring filled with her spirit stones to buy equipment for their esports club. The business is going crazy when An is visited by the same elder who gave him the bad news earlier on. An dodges the elder for now, but Shu insists on listening to the news. The elder reveals that An Lin's future is filled with life and death situations, and just when the group is heading for the mortal world, An Lin gets pulled away by an unknown creature. Shu holds on to An Lin, and he wakes up in the mortal world. An Lin somehow manages to land safely. Chang joins the other two, and when An Lin was seeming to be unscathed, a lotus spirit pops up on his head for some reason. Our messengers are welcomed by a princess named Tian Lingning from the Human Cultivation Alliance, who takes the cultivators to meet up with the rest of her team. On the way, Tian has a problem with An Lin, which, even though is normal behavior for our guy, leads to an altercation between Shu and Tian. As An is still wondering about whether to use his powers to stop the ladies or not, Chang steps up and does it in his place, earning Tian's interest as the ship reaches the Human Alliance headquarters. The princess introduces our messengers to the rest of her team, and there, An Lin comes across Yu An, who he has had a crush on even before he left for the spiritual realm. The deacon of the alliance, Tian's father, reveals how they have already arranged the best cultivators from the human world, so there is no need for the spiritual world and its cultivators. The deacon remarks that the situation is already under control, as the task ahead is to just contain the demon cult instead of the demon king, who hasn't arrived yet. Tian's father tells our trio to kindly return to their world, when an alarm sounds at the headquarters, revealing how the demon and the blood cult have made an alliance as well. With the stakes higher now, Chang proposes a duel against Tian's father to let the heavenly messengers stay, but instead of him, An Lin steps up to take the deacon on. Before An could get to Tian's father, Tian jumps in to fight herself, and she goes all out against our guy. Tian is left shocked when An Lin is not hurt at all despite all of her efforts, and he uses his Heavenly Gate technique to straight up dash towards Tian's father to deal a decisive blow. An Lin makes Tian's father cry with his crybaby move that he unlocked recently, and is about to destroy him when An steps in. An Lin drops the attack, and he strikes a deal for another test against An's soul techniques for some service. Just as An launches her attack, Tian gets trapped in it as well due to her arrogance, which leads An Lin to save her with his almighty soul technique. After securing a spot to help the mortal world out and making An his fan, An Lin is sent to the battlefield with Tian, where they scout to report info back. Tian's info turns out to be not accurate as An Lin uses his spiritual insight to look through the poison mist in front of them. He reports back about the enemies being 4 of the strongest from both the Blood and the Demon clan. With the fresh intel out, An Lin buys some time with his crybaby technique as he requests specific reinforcements while his first biggest challenge ever since fighting Wang awaits him. That concludes today's recap and An Lin's story for now. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more. See you guys in the next one.